Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Everything is in place. Holy cow. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for hopping over. I got an error message from YouTube saying streaming software needing to download. Just way above my head. Way above my head. This is not my cup of tea. But I have the microphone working, I have the camera working, and there are some interesting things. So thank you so much for the comments. Thank you, Anna. The audio is back, thank God. So who knows? Hello from America to England. And love it. So some great questions here. Now, some interesting news over the last, not week really, but there were some fun things I wanted to talk about. I put up a poll about the Purito Sunscreen, and I'm sure every last one of you knows about this. I was just seeing if I had it next to me. So I've been trying this out for a couple of weeks. This is the sunscreen, one of actually multiple that that recently was tested and found to be way below the SPF 19, and then I think retested at 24, but it was branded at 50, right? So the question is, can we trust it again? They put it back out. It was sent to me, and twofold. The question is twofold. Like, one, can you trust the sunscreen again, even though it was tested originally and was less than deemed necessary? And can we use it again with a lot of confidence? And the poll, actually, the majority of you said yes, which I thought was very gracious of you all. So that was very kind. Now, I actually would agree with that. I think if this was a sunscreen that you enjoyed before, then they have been a little bit more they have been forthcoming again. They posted on their Instagram what their new SPF ratings were, and it was tested on 10 people, I believe. And that's a pretty low number, but that's actually kind of standard for some of these skincare tests. Now, is there anything about this that makes it special? That's another thing. So I think you can trust it again. I think they know they're under a ton of additional scrutiny. So the numbers they put on their Instagram, which are kind of hard to find, they're going to be real. And actually, when all sunscreens are tested, there is a range of acceptability. Like, let's say you brand it at 70, just for their argument's sake, like let's say it can range from 60 to 80, and that's acceptable. So you're never going to get a perfectly reproducible test with sunscreen testing. If you want a full video on this, Lab Muffin did an incredibly detailed deep dive on sunscreen testing. She's very good at a lot of laboratory-based things. But let's say the sunscreen is now SPF 50 like it's branded. What about it makes it special? It's one, it blends really well. I was going to do a video. I like to wash sunscreens off. This is how I test my cleansers. I just put on the thickest layer of sunscreen, see how well it washes off. But I couldn't even do it with this because this sunscreen was so invisible when I put it on. There was no cast. So it would be very anticlimactic to wash it off. And that's a nice thing about it. It does leave a bit of a shine. I said dewy maybe, but maybe it's a little bit more than that. Maybe it's just a little bit shiny. But then what about it is unique? Let's see. So the ingredients, we have a couple of broad spectrum. Well, actually, we have one broad spectrum filter. I'm not even going to try to. Maybe I will. Bis ethyl hexylphenol methoxyphenol triazine. Not bad. This is a broad spectrum sunscreen ingredient, not available in the US. And this is going to be the case for most sunscreens from here on out, I think, because the US seems to be at a hard stop where we have a very high standard. Like, you have to have animal testing to prove that a sunscreen works. But ethically, we have deemed now that we don't want animal testing for sunscreens. So we're probably going to be stuck with our same sunscreen ingredients, at least that are FDA approved in the United States for a while. But this one does have, I guess, non-FDA approved broad spectrum sunscreen. And then it has a UVA sunscreen, UVB sunscreen, again, another overseas one that's not FDA approved, but probably very effective. And then we also have titanium dioxide, which in and of itself is broad spectrum, can cover enough. And then it has Centella asiatica, which is soothing. So I love sunscreens with different ingredients that add to it, like niacinamide. This one has a soothing ingredient and it's lightweight. It is a very good everyday sunscreen. Is it something special? I don't have strong opinions about it. I don't think it's like, wow, you need to go buy the sunscreen on its back. I think if you want it, you can probably get it. Now, the biggest question, the biggest thing that came on was these Hyaluron pens. And so actually Dr. Dre dropped a video yesterday on this. And so you go check that out. The reason I think that it's coming to more people's attention isn't because it's new, and I don't believe there's been any just huge uptick in adverse events from it. But the actual FDA and then the American College, I can't remember if it's the AMA. I got a lot of notifications. The American Society of Dermatologic Surgeons, I think, was one of them. Maybe the American Academy of Dermatology. They sent out an email blast to their members here this week and just reminding us that no, it's not FDA approved, and it's probably not safe. So my thoughts on the Hyaluron Pens. First of all, do they work? You're trying to force this hyaluronic acid through intact skin. We know from the particle size that the top layer of the skin allows through and the particle size of hyaluronic acid. It may not be, well, it's definitely not delivered very effectively. And to what extent, really no one knows. But let's just, for argument's sake, assume that it does work. If the Hyaluron Pens do inject hyaluronic acid with the efficacy that injecting with filler would, that's actually kind of scary, because when you're injecting hyaluronic acid with a needle, we have to be very careful of blood vessels and anatomy and the depth and the layers in which we're injecting this. Because if you put it into an artery in the wrong place, you can go blind. Like, this is occludes space, it fills volume. So you could literally occlude your arteries and cause necrosis, blindness. I don't think that's ever been reported with these Hyaluron Pens. I think in part personally that they just don't work as well as people would hope. But again, in theory, if they did work, then that would actually be a very serious adverse event. And if you have that happen at home, it's not something you can readily reverse. We have hyaluronidase to dissolve hyaluronic acid in the office, just in case that ever happens. Knock on wood, it hasn't happened yet to me, but we are prepared in case that does happen. And then also, I guess, additionally, this is not the same as filler. In that filler, you can inject into like very, very niche and tiny, delicate spaces to make very deliberate changes. This is kind of like a blunt push. So it may plump up like the volume of the lips, but you can't make little changes with it. Overall, not safe. There's actually not regulated what's in them, so it can't be 100% sure what's actually in these Hyaluron Pens. And if they are as effective as they'd like you to believe, then that's actually more dangerous and more concerning. So just putting that on everyone's radar. Not something I would use at home. I don't recommend it. And I just don't think there's a huge upside, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, and then the safety of it all. And then last thing we'll make this very brief, is NIOD came out with their new copper peptide. Well, it's not just copper peptides, it's actually the trio and the 311. And I like this in theory because it's a convenience. So like the previous one, you had to mix a couple different components together before applying it. This one, it's already pre-mixed. But my qualm with this, because I was just perusing what newer things have come out, is that copper peptides in general. So what does copper do for the skin? One, it works as a cofactor. So tyrosinase, the enzyme that makes pigment, needs copper. And so if you have enough copper, tyrosinase can make the pigment of your skin, hyperpigmentation as well, effectively. It also is involved in making and required to make elastic fibers, which gives our skin our health, our bounce. Now, there's not a lot of studies on copper peptides in general. So if this works, it would be mostly functioning there to help build elastin, help with skin health, and then it could maybe make sure you can pigment enough or pigment appropriately or hyperpigment, which sounds kind of undesirable just from what a lot of people are wanting to do, especially with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. But again, not a lot of evidence behind this one. I like topical peptides in general, and it's a very complicated topic because different types of topical peptides actually function differently, and they have been studied. And I do like those, and they tend and would likely be safe in pregnancy as well. But copper peptides, don't think you're going to huge benefit from it. I like the convenience of this new product. Not sure I would get it just because of the copper peptide portion. I don't believe they actually work as well, they say. Okay, now we can move on to some of the questions. Let's see here. Oh, also, there's another product that came out, Versed Out, VERSED Out of Sight Dark Spot Gel. It's nice. It's nice. It has tranexamic acid, kojic acid, niacinamide, licorice root, and then aloe vera just to kind of soothe and offset some of those irritating hyperpigmentation ingredients. I need to get my hands on it, but this is going to be one of those things that rivals Faded. Topicals Faded has become just like the go-to for hyperpigmentation as far as over-the-counter combination ingredients or over-the-counter products. But this Versed Out of Sight Dark Spot Gel, nice. I think the price point is pretty good too. I'm really loving the things that are coming out with for hyperpigmentation that really complement some of the prescription things. Okay. Whew, this one sounds complicated. Okay, so the first question we'll get to is human adipose or bone marrow stem cells in skincare. Um, I'd like to see more science on a lot of this. Now, human adipose is interesting because our adipose tissues are fat cells, and newer thought and what we now know is that they're hormonally and endocrinely active. So, can transferring these to different parts of the body keep that endocrine or hormonal activity? Not sure. I'd like to see more on that. An interesting thing, though, is when we use fat transfers, like instead of doing filler, sometimes you can move a fat pad from one place to another, move fat from somewhere you may not want it into a place that you do want it. They actually don't take as well as you'd think. You would think that if you moved fat from here to here or wherever, fat from here to here, it's your fat cells, your body would not mind it being there. But it actually degrades pretty quickly over time. It's not actually a permanent fix. So I'm not sure how long these would last. I know that's kind of like a different train of thought with the fat cells. Stem cells everywhere. We just as old as I think this technology is becoming, I'm unfortunately disappointed at the lack of large studies showing significant benefit. We see it a lot in the orthopedics world right now. A lot of orthopedic surgeons are using it for joints. I have heard from patients personally, but unfortunately anecdotally, that has helped them significantly. And the whole point of a stem cell is you put a stem cell next to another cell, it should grow up to be a version of its neighboring cell. So with the skin, hopefully something the same. I imagine it would have a similar effect to like adding growth factors to the skin. But again, I'm not a huge proponent for it yet. I'm not sure the science and caught up with how it works in the real world. And same, certainly for studies. Certainly for studies. All right, let's see here. Is it possible to reduce the appearance of chickenpox scars and surgery scars? So yeah, that's a nice thing about it is these scars go through different phases. Initially, even before they form the thick scar, they can be red or starting to raise, and there you have silicone gel, silicone sheets that are modestly effective, but they are effective and consistently pretty effective. Definitely the most evidence behind those. And after the fact, though, yes, you can use things to knock back. I'm just trying to think of like which different types of scars. So chickenpox scars tend to be indented, where you have like a little divot. That's just how those in particular tend to heal because they started as a blister and inflammation. So here are things that are going to stimulate collagen growth. Of course, retinoid is going to have a subtle benefit here, but then procedurally, you're going to get the most benefit. Microneedling is really nice for ice pick scars and chickenpox scars because they're so discrete, like just so well defined. TCA, like an in-office heavy peel, deep peel, just right in those spots could really be really effective there. That would actually be a great treatment for chickenpox scars down the road. From Kiko L, studying anatomy of the hand, and I'm freaking out. Yeah, it's amazing. So the first year of medical school, which for me, I think was like 10 years ago at this point, about the amount of anatomy is incredible. The depth and the intricacies of our body blows my mind. Anatomy, very hard class. Enjoy unlocking the mysteries of our body. It is great. Okay. Well, let's see. And this one kind of ties in. So we have one question from Jim Pham. Can you combine pure vitamin C? Pure vitamin C, that's an interesting phrase there. Pure vitamin C, though, with niacinamide. And so in general, there's a decent amount of studies. I may have even said this last week. I feel like this comes up all the time, every week, in every video we do. Someone asks this question. But yes, they can be combined. They don't really have a significant effect on each other in the real world settings, and they are both still effective. And then on the same breadth, kind of similar topic of hyperpigmentation. Let's see here. Hi, can I use alpha-arbutin and tranexamic acid in one routine? Absolutely. Almost always with hyperpigmentation and acne, limiting factors, irritation. That's a completely up to your skin. So if you get hyperpigmentation, then it's out or you need to back off. But theoretically, they can be used. They can be used together. Let's see what's going on here. Wait, sunscreen recommendation. Shoulder, eczema. Let's see here. Okay, this is actually a good point. So Catspert says, can we use actives on damaged skin barriers? And it depends what the active is, of course, but let's just play in mind that we're talking about something like retinoids or vitamin C, something very effective, but that can be irritating. One very common thing I see is that people try to push through irritation, meaning that, like, let's say you're using retinoid nightly, or you've worked yourself up to nightly, it gets irritated, and you try to push through it. And I mean, that's okay with retinoid maybe because in 2 to 3 weeks it self-resolves usually. But in general, it's okay to take a step back, pause your actives, repair that skin barrier by just going to like a super simple routine, like gentle cleansing, like very targeted actives, if any, and then a great moisturizer with nice ingredients like ceramides, panthenol, squalane, um, something to kind of give your skin some time to heal for a week or two. And then you can reintroduce some of those actives that had been causing problems before. If you get irritation, it's not like you can never use something again. It's definitely worth your time to reintroduce things and let that skin heal before you jump back in sometimes. Let's see. Oh, okay. Good moisturizer for dry skin. Good moisturizer for dry skin. So let's see here. Where is my phone? One reason I'm getting my phone is I just made a list of like some really nice ones. Let's see. And I want to share some of them in particular with you. It was a decent list, so I don't want to forget any here. All right. So, okay. Let's classify these just really quick. Let's organize my thoughts. I'm always all over the place. But for dry skin in general, let's just talk about general dry skin. So we have simple, plain, effective moisturizers that without a lot of fluff, without a lot of fancy bling ingredients. And those in my mind are always your Vanicream, which I have 3 bottles of it right here because I use this very regularly, especially in the winter. So Vanicream moisturizing cream, just very inert, bland. I believe it does have propylene glycol in it, which can be a problem for some people, but in general, just extremely well tolerated, very effective. It's thick. It locks in moisture very effectively. CeraVe cream, it is what it is. It's simple and effective. Like, I got tired of hearing of it last year or whenever it was, but it's always been effective. Vaseline products, super heavy, 99% effective at blocking transepidermal water loss. White petrolatum, the main ingredient in a lot of these Vaseline products. Extremely effective. Now, some of my favorites that are a little bit more bougie, we can just say bougie. The First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream, it's really nice. It is really nice. We will be talking about this actually a bit more in depth coming here soon. And oh yeah, I meant to apologize too before I got so flustered with our tech stuff. We have a couple videos waiting to come out, but we're waiting for them to be released. So I'm sorry, no, we don't have like a real video yet. But anyway, First Aid Beauty, it has some really nice ingredients. It feels awesome. It has oats, which I love, especially in moisturizers and cleansers. Oats are like naturally cleansing. I like cleansers, squalane, shea butter, dimethicone. It's like a lighter to medium vehicle for a moisturizer. Good for the face, good for the body. And then just some other targeted things. Acne skin. I'm still obsessed. Whoa. Still obsessed with this one for acne. Cetaphil's Mattifying Acne Moisturizer. Made a video for it, never sponsored, went way out of my way to buy this stinking product. So good for acne. It has salicylic acid, but it also has things for hyperpigmentation. And the feel of it, just so light. I love it. And then last one, let's say rosacea. So the Cica cream, the Cica 7, they have a cream and they also have a heaven help me, a serum. This is really nice though. I like it. It has Centella asiatica. I like this for rosacea skin actually, which is kind of a tough thing to find things for, but it has Centella asiatica, which is really soothing, helps with inflammation. Specifically for the erythrotelangiectatic type of rosacea, I like it. And allantoin soothing, B5 or panthenol soothing, sunflower oil and ice oil, and then some other moisturizers like dimethicone and glycerin. I like all those. So there's my list. There's my list for good moisturizers for dry skin. Janet Rodriguez can use tretinoin and copper peptides or just peptides at the same time with tretinoin. Don't know if I read the whole thing right. So tretinoin can be used with peptides. I think the ceiling of tretinoin and retinoids are higher. So you're going to get much more benefit from them. They can complement each other in a lot of ways, though. So go for it. It's a great little duo. Copper peptides. So few studies on them. Like I think you can use them together as well. If you're ever concerned too about that, or if we don't have data, logically there's not a huge reason that they would interact tremendously with each other, though. So I'm not concerned. But just let one ingredient dry before putting your other ingredient on. Now I say that, don't always do it because I find it really cumbersome. Like if I get home from work, like 8:30 at night or something, or I'm getting ready for work, like I'm out the door at 6, up at 4. It's just really hard to find time to let things dry. Or I've seen things like let it dry for 20, 30 minutes before you apply your next product. That seems very prohibitive, depending on how busy your real life is. Okay, this one. Oh, Fatima, that is my, I'm not related to this one, but that is my relation. I'm trying to think of the actual relation. It's my dad's brother's stepmom. So whatever that is, they're from Egypt. And anyway, so why is vitamin C and E serum better used in the morning? So this is something I had said on my Instagram, and I actually hadn't seen it said before, specifically relating to, I personally believe, just logically, vitamin C would have some benefits, especially as an antioxidant if used in the morning. Because so vitamin C's profile is that it's a good antioxidant when it's stabilized with vitamin E or ferulic acid. Of course, collagen boosting helps even out pigmentation. So if you're using it in the morning, most of our oxidative damage, let's say, comes throughout the day, right? I mean, we're interacting with real life mostly throughout the day. And so if you're wanting the antioxidant benefits, putting it on in the morning is going to help protect you from life. Now, with that being said, though, vitamin C, because it's degraded by the sun, it'll be broken down throughout the day. You're going to lose, I think, some of the collagen boosting benefits and dyspigmentation treating benefits from it by wearing it during the day. I mean, right? It just makes sense. If it's broken down by sunlight, if you're wearing it in the day, and it's broken down by the environment, then you're going to lose that effect, some of that effect from collagen boosting and dyspigmentation treatment by using it in the morning. So I think if you want to maximize the antioxidant effect and the protection of your skin, using it in the morning. If you want to maximize the collagen boosting benefit and dyspigmentation treatment, I think using it at night, because you're not going to have it broken down as readily while you're sleeping. Again, this is 100% theory. I've never seen a study on it. I've actually never heard anyone else say that, but I think that's how I would use it, or how I'd want to use it, depending on how I wanted to use it. But otherwise, you can use it anywhere. You can use it in the morning, you can use it in the evening. It's not like you have to use it. And a lot of retinoids are the same way as well. Oh, okay, yeah. So again, I'm trying to jump up and down the comments because I want to get some old comments and some new comments. I don't want to neglect the newer and the old one. So, oh no, where'd it go? Okay, any good body lotions? Let's see here. Not body lotions, it was any good. This is from Jurine221. Hi, Doc. Any good retinol body lotions or serums? So I haven't found like a body one that I 100% love yet. Now, I know there are some out there, but I haven't found one I absolutely love. But what I am always looking for is like one that's kind of affordable, right? So the ones I've really liked lately, because I was going through just different products, and the ones that have really stuck with me, though, is the Regenerist Retinol 24 Night Moisturizer. This one's by LA. And the reason I like this, though, it's very affordable. It also has peptides, niacinamides, dimethicone, and then the Paul's Choice Barrier Repair Moisturizer Retinol. Again, you get the retinol in a nice vehicle that soothes and offsets the irritation. Plus, you have squalane, peptides, green tea, shea butter, glycerin, ceramides, licorice, vitamin E, and other antioxidants. So you're getting the retinol plus a vehicle to offset the irritation, plus other actives to complement the retinol. And that's what I've been looking for more and more, I think, especially with over-the-counter retinols, because there are just so many good options, especially if you're unfortunately looking for the face. But I do need to find one I absolutely love for the body. Let's see. All creams. Yeah, let's see. Erythema. So let's see. We'll do this one and I'll move back to some older ones I probably missed. But this is from Armando Althau. Differences in treating rosacea versus post-inflammatory erythema. So we did a rosacea video, a deep dive. I almost want to redo it because it was so long ago, but it was so in depth, and there are different types of rosacea that behave completely differently and are treated completely differently. Now, so let's just focus on like the red flushing type of rosacea and maybe the acne type of rosacea together. For the acne type, things that help acne generally are going to help this as well as things that help treat mites and mites. So topical ivermectin is actually very useful here. For the acneiform, specifically metronidazole gel, which is a topical antibiotic, very useful here for its anti-inflammatory properties in part. And then the red flushing type is one of the most difficult to treat. Anything that soothes is going to help this. These people with the erythrometatophalangostatic rosacea, the flushing red vessel rosacea, just very sensitive skin. And so things that soothe this, help offset that irritation. Again, centella has really become a good ingredient for this type of rosacea. Those can help with this. Metronidazole gel, again, has been shown to be some benefit in this type of rosacea. And then post-inflammatory erythema. I always hate to say this, but time is your best friend here, only because it does resolve very, 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 very consistently on its own if you treat the underlying cause. But again, to target it, people have said that retinoids help with this as well. It might just be from increasing skin turnover, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because the redness oftentimes is from inflammation and dilation of the little blood vessels under the skin, and not a lot helps treat blood vessels over the counter topically. But centella, again, might help here as well. So that's a common ground, I guess. Centella, asiatica, and could help both of these things, although they're completely different. Let's see here. Oh, it's kind of funny. So Julia Ra, what is your favorite home DIY skincare treatment, if any? Greets from Germany. I found an amazing, authentic German restaurant here in Wilmington. It's downtown. I think it's called the German Cafe for anyone who's local. Check it out. Super nice people. Always unrelated, but I get excited about food. If you haven't learned that about me, I get very excited about food. Now, my favorite home DIY? None, absolutely none, because I found that they're just so much work. And like, I guess I kind of alluded to how crunched I feel for time throughout the day. I made masks, I've made the sugar wax. Dr. Shaw and I are going to make a mask competition. We're going to just try some home DIY stuff and see who does it better. That we have yet to shoot, but we're going to do that. But I don't like any of them. I just think that they're just very time consuming. And I think, like Dr. Shaw, I'm very much like a results driven person. And even though I did have a lot of fun making some of them at home, especially the sugar wax, I don't know, I found that like very satisfying. I don't know. I've never found the benefits outweighing like a pre-made product. So unfortunately, I don't have a favorite one. I think if you have someone you're doing it with, like if you could do this with people around you, it was super fun making the mask with Dr. Shaw. That was a blast. So if you just want to have like a social night, maybe Friday nights, y'all get together, make some home masks, that'd be great. But I think it's more of a fun activity or a craft than like a practical part of skincare. Let's see. Hello, Zoli, you arrived late. You didn't miss much except for some technical problems in the beginning. All right, Herman Pianist. Is there a difference between 2%, 3%, and 5% minoxidil for the hair? What do I recommend? So yes, there is a difference. Durham Angelo actually, I think, was very upset for a little while about the different branding for this, the 2% being for women, 5% for men. And I actually can resonate with that a little bit here because they've been studied. 5% is more effective. It can cause more irritation. And I think I almost always recommend 5% for people at this point, because if you're getting irritation, I would highly recommend backing off down to 2%. That might be a better fit for you. But we do have studies showing that 5% is more effective. A lot of different companies have gone with the 2%. It's not like it's not effective at all. It can definitely be beneficial. It might not be as irritating. I think Bosley came out with a minoxidil product as well. I believe that one is a 2%. But I personally prefer the 5%. I think the science backs it up. If the major limitation is irritation, then you can back off or switch to the 2%. But I, again, prefer the 5. Kimberly Chevelle, can you use Rogaine for eyebrow growth? You can, in theory, but not. It may not be as beneficial because one of the ways that it works is it prolongs. One of the ways that it works is it prolongs the growth phase of the hair cycle, which is fine, and it might help there. But actually, pattern baldness and like pattern alopecia, hormonal alopecia, one of the things that happens is your growth phase of the hair cycle shrinks and gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So it specifically has a really nice benefit for pattern alopecia because it can prolong that hair cycle, that growth cycle of the hair that's trying to shorten, and it can really offset that. Now, obviously, we don't get pattern alopecia in the eyebrows. We can get hair loss and we can lose our eyebrows, but it's usually not hormone mediated. It's usually not the same process. So it can, but not as effectively in my mind. Oh yeah, there. That one. This one I felt bad for missing last week because I saw it pop up and I said I was going to address it right off the bat, but it was about Aklief, AKLIEF, triferritine. This one is from Myasil. Hi, Doc. Can you please talk about Aklief? Is it anti-aging? And then a second part to this, can I use azelaic acid in the morning and Aklief at nighttime? Thanks in advance. Sure. So this is the new retinoid. It's FDA approved. It's the first one to be approved in a very long time as far as prescription retinoids. And what's the selling point here? Like, why did this manage to get this attention and a new approval for prescription retinoids? So we have different receptors in our skin, like little receivers that retinoids work on. We have a lot of different types, and they do different things. Now, Aklief or triferritine is thought to target one in particular, and by doing that, it hopefully can skip some of the receptors in our skin that cause irritation. So the major selling point for this is it has the benefits of retinoids, especially for acne, and it may have less irritation than retinoids. So that's the major draw here for this new retinoid. And so, yes, it has benefits. It works like a retinoid. It works like a prescription strength retinoid with hopefully less irritation, like personal experience, real world experience. Tretinoin is still my go-to, honestly. So I don't want to say like it has or hasn't performed as well as old ones. I haven't used it all that much. So in theory, yes, it can help. I have just had such good success with tretinoin and tazarotene that I haven't switched over completely to it. So who knows if I ever will, but it will likely be anti-aging. It's kind of like a retinoid class effect, the anti-aging benefits. So even though some of them have more studies than others, like tretinoin, most very well studied, others less studied, I think this is a class effect, just retinoids in general, and through the receptor that Aklief also works on, it can have some anti-aging benefits as well. And then can you use azelaic in the morning and then this retinoid at night? Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of standard, I guess, for people who are especially dealing with irritation and not wanting to use two ingredients that can be irritating at the exact same time. Absolutely, that would be a fine way to do it. Let's see here. Oh, that's fine. Is vitamin C or retinol better for melasma from the Ann and Sid show? That's a fun name. I would go retinoid here because, like we did in our hyperpigmentation video, retinoids target all three paths for pigment production. So I think they cover your bases a little better. And actually, vitamin C is like a very supporting ingredient for hyperpigmentation in general. And then anytime we talk about melasma, sunscreen has to exit my mouth. You have to use sunscreen with melasma. It'll fail 100% of the time if you're not like religious about using sunscreen with melasma. This one's come a few times. Why does Elta MD UV Clear dry me out? It's a good question. So let's look up their ingredient list. And the only reason I'm doing this, I know the major ingredients in LTMD UV clear. It's like a combination mineral, um, mineral, chemical, which, yes, I know there's like multiple words, physical, chemical, you know what I mean? Like combination sunscreen. It also has niacinamide in it, which is generally tolerated really well, can be soothing. But let's see if there's anything in here. So this one has zinc oxide and octinoxate, again, that combination I was talking about. It has water in the ingredient list, which is 100% normal. Please don't be concerned about water in your products. It's there deliberately. You just pick your content based off of your vehicle. Niacinamide, some other ingredients that are more functional, like cyclopentasiloxane. I'm not going to read all of those because those are mostly functional without like a huge portion. So there's one ingredient in here that can be drying, and we talk about this more and more as the winter goes on, but it does have a form of hyaluronic acid. It actually has a couple other things, so vitamin E and then lactic acid as well. Let's play with those. So we have the hyaluronic acid. Now this comes in a little bit of a vehicle anyway. Like it's very lightweight. It's more of a lotion feel if you're just going to compare it to an actual moisturizer. I love it personally. I think the LTMD line is the most natural feel for my skin, which is why I love it so much. There are a lot of great sunscreens out there. This one just feels the most natural. I forget it's on me, which is one of my functional goals with sunscreen. But hyaluronic acid has the potential to draw water from the skin and release it to the environment. So if this is too drying, or if you're using any hyaluronic acid products, especially right now as we are in the fall approaching winter, make sure you're coming behind that with a good moisturizer to lock that in. That's lock any moisture that is drawing up from the skin in and keeping it on your skin. And then here we have vitamin E, tocopherol acetate. This has been studied and might actually be irritating for some people. So vitamin E is kind of a finicky ingredient in some ways, and the data and studies behind it show that it sometimes may not work great for the skin, especially when it's like pure form. So in theory, it could be. And then lactic acid, mild exfoliant. It's like moisturizing, slightly moisturizing, but sometimes I feel like that can still irritate people. So there's the list, and it's all possible. Okay, so how to deal with cystic acne from Uno. I always hate to say this because our goal here is to really give everyone like knowledge and ingredients and products that you can implement and use at home. I love helping people like feel like they can take control of their skin, because usually you can. Cystic acne, because of the depth within the skin, if you look under the microscope, just like top of the skin here, dermis here, cystic acne can be like really deep in the skin, and topicals just do not treat it consistently or effectively. And cystic acne is the form that scars the most. So please see a dermatologist. You're going to need something that's going to treat it from the inside out, just by virtue of the depth of the lesions. Antibiotics are a good way to burst it down. Spironolactone, birth control, depending on you. And then I know Accutane always has so much stigma, but if nothing else, it's extremely effective. Sulfur for acne from Aldi, and sulfur for acne, I like it. I think sulfur, sometimes I say underrated ingredient. I just don't know if it's utilized as much as it could be. I think it definitely has some good components or good function, especially for acneiform or inflammatory like conditions. So I think for acne it can be helpful. I think it's maybe a little more helpful for rosacea types, but Hi, should I expect, from Luis C. Cruz, hi, should I expect improvements using tretinoin 0.1% for white and red stretch marks? Stretch marks, it comes up a lot too. It's just, especially for topicals, you really have to temper your expectations. They can help minimize this, and the answer to this part is yes, tretinoin has been shown to be effective, specifically though for the red type, which are like the early stretch marks that are kind of just red, inflamed, where I think that the damage is still occurring. Now, once you get to the atrophic white stretch marks, there have been studies showing that it is not helpful or has not been beneficial. It doesn't hurt it. It's just may not be that helpful, and you might need procedures here. Here's an interesting question from Thela Mima. Can your lips become saggy from those suction plumping devices? Nah, I don't think so. So, it actually takes a lot to permanently change your facial structures. I mean, a lot. So I'm a Mohs surgical fellow. We do a lot of reconstructions on the face, and barring surgery or like something that's permanently in there, like a filler, your skin really does bounce back tremendously to its previous shape, which is one of the reasons that I have no faith that things like gua sha or facial massage can change your facial structure whatsoever. But similarly, even though like strong suction devices, even the pore vacuums can irritate and damage the skin, I don't believe they can restructure the skin or cause like sagging of different structures on your face. I just don't. I don't think so. This one is a good question from Herex. Herex, can you do a video of European products good for face skin? So Dr. Shaw and I kind of talk about this sometimes. We are so happy to have everyone on board from all over the world. I love hearing from everyone. One of the most difficult things for us, though, is because we are both located in the same place. We have like limited hands-on experience with different products outside of what we have available to us. So like, I think that's something we need to invest in, is trying to get a good amount of products from different countries into our hands. We both like or would prefer to recommend products we've tried. We look at ingredients list and we're very confident. We can confidently say I recommend this product looking at the ingredient list or knowing what we know about the body. But at the same time, I don't have a personal preference. I don't have strong ones yet, just specific for European skincare. I'm sorry, but I would really, and I'll talk to him about this. We really need to get some things in hand. Juhi Jane is post-COVID hair loss. Lost 70% of my hair. I'm 24. Female, any suggestions? So we did this in our live together, I think, but we do see this. It's different types. You can lose COVID and other infection stressors can shift your hair from the growth phase into the shedding phase. And additionally, it can actually accelerate it faster than other stressors have historically. Basically, what happens, our hairs have a growth phase, resting phase, and a shedding phase, and it shifts them to shed, and so causes something called telogen effluvium. It usually looks like just diffuse thinning of the hair, where you lose up to like 1,000 hairs a day, and it can be very dramatic, and it can be substantial. As far as treatments, because again, we're talking about shifting the hair growth cycle, minoxidil or Rogaine can be beneficial here. So that was one thing we would recommend, specifically for telogen effluvium. Now, thankfully, most people do get this over. It just comes back. Your hairs will cycle back over time, and it gets better. There is something called chronic telogen effluvium. So some people, it doesn't get better. But the first step, if you're going to take any, would just be to use minoxidil Rogaine and just try to recycle those hairs back into the growth phase. So hopefully that helps. Then as your hair kind of shifts back naturally over time, you can usually stop the minoxidil or Rogaine as your hair kind of shifts back naturally into the growth cycle and gets back on track. And then if you see a dermatologist, there are other types of hair loss to make sure that that is exactly the type, telogen effluvium, versus some other type of hair loss as well. Let's see. Oh, wait, where did that? So this is a good one, I guess. Serenity. I mean, they're all good questions. Like, I'm just trying to find ones that I feel like I can respond best to. But Serenity 198424. I recently had a cosmetic surgery, big cut. What are the best products to take care of scars, heal, minimize, and fade? Wound healing is actually very important and something we think about a lot in dermatology because it is actually becoming more and more a procedural specialty. So let's think about it this way. When you have a wound, let's say open wound or a surgical site, we need to do a couple of things. We want to keep it moist as possible, because as much as you lock in the moisture, the faster it's going to heal. And like I see this 100 times a week. I know every time when a patient has been keeping their wound site moist and well occluded, it just looks a world better than someone who leaves it open to the air and lets it dry out. So if it's fresh, putting on Vaseline helps lock everything in. Again, I talked about how effective white petrolatum is at keeping moisture in, ultra effective. And white petrolatum has been shown to be as effective as topical antibiotics at preventing a secondary infection or preventing an infection from occurring in the surgical site. So just a super inert, cheap, easily accessible ingredient product that can be used to help wounds and surgical sites heal. Great. And then again, silicone is the staple for preventing things from becoming hypertrophic scars. So the way this actually looks is you just can keep it moist, covered with Vaseline petrolatum until the skin is grown over, until you have like a new epidermis over the wound. And at that point, you can use the silicone-based thing to cover that area. I mean, or you theoretically could use the Vaseline and the silicone sheet to cover the whole area. But those are going to be ultra effective. Just those two are going to be so effective at helping a scar heal well and subtly. Just it blows my mind the difference between just someone simply using Vaseline post-operatively and doing nothing. I just see it so often. Crazy difference between the two. I'm going to have to leave for work here. I was on lunch, so I'm going to have to go to the office here and see patients. So let me get to a couple more. Again, I'm going to do this every week for this foreseeable future because I just want to make sure we're connecting with you as we continue to try to put out weekly videos. So let me answer two more. And again, I'll try to get to more. I'll probably do an Instagram live. Let me do an Instagram live as well. I'll do it on Saturday just to try to catch up with anything I might have missed. That might focus on eczema first because I've been doing more eczema stuff there. But I want to make sure I get more questions. So Pixie Doll, when to increase tretinoin strength? This is actually a very important question. Wait, I might have answered this last week, so I'll do three. Okay, when to increase it is if you're not at your goal and you're experiencing no irritation. That's it. So if you're at your goal, you don't need to increase it. If you're getting too much irritation, it's not time to increase it. So if your goal is not met and no irritation, increase it. Are we close from Christian HV? Are we close to making lasers safe for darker skin tones? Sort of. And the only reason I say sort of is because we have some lasers that are effective for darker skin tones. For example, like I am too dark to get a CO2 laser, which is the ablative laser. So for resurfacing of my skin, I'm too dark. We don't have anything for that. And I don't know if we ever will. The reason is just the darker your skin tone is, the more susceptible we seem to be for hyperpigmentation after any sort of insult, and lasers included. But we do have lasers. We do have lasers like the ND YAG 1094, which we can use for like hair removal. Works great. And we can use it for darker skin tones pretty safely, like very dark skin tones very safely. So we do have some lasers that can treat specific things for darker skin tones. We don't have ablative things that can like resurface the skin or remodel collagen for darker skin tones yet. I don't think we ever will, but we are moving forward with technologies that can have similar effects as far as like collagen growth that are safe for all skin tones. While microneedling is not at all a laser, it can be used in all skin tones and help with collagen growth and pores. And radio frequency is something I still can't wait to see the ceiling with radio frequency. I love it. I love the science behind it. I think it could be very dynamic as we continue to add to it. Radio frequency stimulates collagen, stimulates growth in and under the skin, like at subthermal levels. So it doesn't cause damage, and it can very specifically target things while leaving the top part of the skin intact. So super exciting. Let's see here. And then, okay. Could you tell us the difference between ABC, this from ABC, and then I saw someone else say, can you please answer ABC's question? So here it is. Can you please tell if there's a difference in the effects of niacinamide in different percentage ranges? So there is and there is not. Niacinamide is a great ingredient, so well-rounded. And we know that it works. We have studies talking about the percentage concentrations, and we have also data on what's the threshold where irritation becomes too much of a problem, right? So the consideration is like, okay, you can increase your strength more and more and more until you get irritation, and then you probably should back off, right? But we do this for most of our ingredients, like what's the concentration that is too high. And so in general, I think concentrations that less than or equal to 5% are probably ideal. There have been studies where 2% niacinamide showed tremendous benefit in pretty much everything that 5% showed benefit for. So I actually like 2%, 4, 5%, 2 through 5, let's say. And just because, I think myself, even personally, like everybody else, we're like, well, maybe a little more is better if there's no irritation. Let's say 5% is a great number to have for niacinamide, but 2% is probably just as good of a percentage. But then we do have studies that show 20%. 20%, you have a lot more risk for irritation from niacinamide. And we have similar studies for like tea tree oil. I think 25% for tea tree oil is really that concentration where we would just get a ton too much irritation, and it negates some of the benefits. So less than 20% niacinamide is almost mandatory. Less than 5% niacinamide, you're probably going to be very safe with very little irritation, but getting all of the benefits. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Again, be doing this more and more. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for bearing with me with the technical aspects. It's so hard to practice this because I don't know a way I can do a live, set up the camera and microphone to test it without anybody seeing. I'll have to work on that. But anyway, I'm going to get this going. We're going to make it very smooth every time going forward. I promise. Thank you for letting me dress up for you. I haven't worn a suit at all since the last time Dr. Shah and I dressed up. And I can't wait to see you all again next week. It'd probably be the same time unless I'm doing a surgery with our oculoplastic surgeon. So let's meet up next Wednesday. Thanks again.